So, we are here to talk about one of what I think has been one of the more influential films on me over the past 10 years, Irish Wish.
Mm. Beautiful
Um,
film.
yeah. Um, I guess, uh, what, if you had to describe this film in one sentence to someone, how would you describe it?
Freaky Friday with leprechauns. Yeah.
But there are no leprechauns, it's St. Bridget.
Yeah.
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 Um, yeah, no,
She's,
I think so this is pretty much just like a Hallmark movie on Netflix that just happens to be set in Ireland. Um, we're from Ireland, so I think there is a
pretty
very
funny.
yeah. There's always like I think an interesting perspective whenever you watch any like American films that are set in Ireland, because you're just sort of getting an idea of their perspective on Ireland. It's kind of like Bollywood movies that are set in New York, and there's kind of like an appropriation of American culture that I'm sure is very interesting to watch as an American. I think for me, it's yeah, I have a weird relationship with this film because it's like I should hate it.
It is insulting, right?
It is, yeah,
But
but
it's so like pleasant and like toothless and like charming that like
it's kind of
it,
yeah.
it's not that I forgive it, but it makes me confused in an interesting way, right? Like
It's like
it's interesting to kind of pick apart what exactly it's making me feel.
it's kind of like you just sort of you accept its flaws, but you can't help but love it.
Mm.
I guess the way you would like a child almost. It's just like, yeah, I know my son's a piece of shit, but he's my son. I still love him. So yeah, like the basic, I guess the sort of the premise of it is she is a New Yorker who works as a literary editor, and she is in love with her, I guess her boss.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
a client, kind of her like yeah, she's the editor of his book. So
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Except
that's-
I guess the real premise is that she is actually the one who writes his books,
Mhm.
and he for some reason just takes all the credit, and I don't really get it because it's kind of like, why would you let this guy
Mm.
steal your shit? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess maybe if he was like an established writer, because they say that in the film, it's like, oh, he's the best writer in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
he's the best
Another,
writer.
another weird line where you're like,
Yeah, yeah, that was a weird. It's just like
okay. Maybe they do mean the UK. Maybe they actually do. Okay,
Paul
I don't
Kennedy
know.
is the best-selling author in the UK. Fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, one thing. Yeah.
Yes, his book about lakes is selling more than Harry Potter. Like
Is that a real lake?
yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
I
beautiful
love.
lines.
I do love that. Yeah, that's the thing about like this film. I think it, as terrible as it is, as offensive as I should find it as an Irish person and as someone who just likes films in general, I kind of love it as like just this sort of camp
Yes, camp. That's exactly.
masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've seen it 3 times, and like in all 3 times that I've watched it, I was never bored.
No,
I was always like engaged with some aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like whether I was sort of being like very you know, sort of henpicking the stuff that I didn't like about it, there would just be a random line like, "Is that a real lake?" Where I'm just
yeah.
like, "What?
That
Why
is-
is that a line?
Yeah,
Who
like-
wrote that?"
like that is the thing. Like for all the like nonsense and bizarreness of the film, like that is the thing. Like there are a lot of people doing a really good job on this, right? Like the directing and editing, I have a lot of respect for. I think it's like structured really well, and like they know what they're doing. The cinematography is of course beautiful, and of course Lindsay Lohan's performance itself very impressive. Like she does a great job with nothing, basically with nothing, and that's really the fatal flaw of this film is the writing. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing there at all. There's nothing to the characters. There's no real story to speak of. The story is the love triangle, and it's pretty bare bones. It's very tropey, what you would expect for like tropes like of the genre and stuff, and like yeah.
I guess we should say a little bit about what the sort of the real premise of the film is.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay, we set it up. Lindsay Lohan is a writer in New York. She's an editor. She works for a man who is like stealing all of her ideas. Essentially, she writes the books. He gets the credit, and then he falls in love with one of her friends. And they hit it off. It goes really well, really fast, and then they get to Ireland, where Paul Kennedy, her boss, and her friend are getting married, and Lindsay Lohan is kind of feeling shitty about it because she, I guess at this point in the movie, still loves Paul Kennedy. And she's out in the middle of the countryside. She finds this kind of weird stone chair, and then St. Bridget appears to her. And then St. Bridget's like, oh, it's a magic chair. And she sits down and she's like, oh, I'm going to make a wish. I wish I was married to Paul Kennedy, or I was marrying Paul Kennedy. And then she wakes up in bed and she's like, oh, that was a really weird dream. And then it's this alternate universe where she is the one who is getting married to Paul Kennedy. And that's the Irish, that's like, that's the wish.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the kind of like Freaky Friday, like,
I also,
like situation swap, kind of like that.
Yeah. I also really appreciated that the film took the time to put like the Webster definition of wish at the beginning.
Beautiful,
I was just like,
right? Beautiful bad writing trope. It's like, like how do I start this? Webster's definition of wish is
it's
such
like
and such, like it.
Pulp Fiction. It begins with like the two definitions of like pulp and fiction. That kind of makes sense because like before that movie came out, Pulp Fiction would have been like a relatively obscure genre.
Yeah.
So for like a mainstream audience going into that film, you're just like, oh, it's like an homage to this sort of style of storytelling.
Yeah.
But it's just like,
Irish wish.
we're not 5. We know what a wish is.
Yeah.
Like, why are you... Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's the basic, like, that's the overall premise. And while Lindsay Lohan is in Ireland, she also bumps into this English photographer who is pretty cute. I'll give him that. He's pretty cute. And they have much better chemistry than her and the other guy. That's another thing about this movie. I kind of feel like some of the casting choices are a little odd.
Yes.
Because I don't believe anyone would find this Paul Kennedy charming enough to let him get away with like stealing their shit.
100%. I've been reflecting on that as like a major flaw of the thing, right? Like her infatuation with Paul is like the setup for this love triangle, right? Like that's, her, she finds him so charming, and then the getting her wish granted to marry him, and then she discovers that he's horrible and she wants to leave, and all of this is building him up as this like debonair bad boy charmer lady killer type, and the problem is this actor is not that at all.
Yeah,
right?
no.
He is a like void of charisma. He is this like
He's just, I just think like you could have found someone like...
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think that dynamic in the film could have really worked if you had someone who was like insanely good looking. Not that this guy's unattractive.
Yeah.
I don't think he's unattractive at all. But he just has he just doesn't have like a like a kind of charisma.
Yeah, like he could have been a love interest, a blushing, anxious, like oh gosh, oh geez, kind of like love interest,
kind of like a Hugh Grant.
Yeah, exactly.
An Irish Hugh Grant.
Exactly.
Except this guy's
worth mentioning as well. This guy's Welsh, pretending to be Irish, doing a rough Irish accent that gets very leprechaun at times.
Yeah.
It's like rough, right? Again, another point where it's like this was not the man to cast. This man does not have the range to do an Irish debonair bad boy. He could be like a blushing, anxious Welsh guy, like I don't believe him as like as like an artist. He could be an aspiring Twitch streamer. That's a type of guy, but like,
he's very Millhouse.
Yes,
he's very like my mom says I'm cool.
Yeah.
My mom says I can write books.
Absolutely, and like him being a bad boy is mostly him doing like just being like shitty and kind of like disrespectful, and like not like him just being like a weird shitty guy like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are we meant to believe that like Lindsay Lohan is really falling in love with this guy, and that is, you know, when this movie really hooked me in those like open establishing scenes. First couple of minutes of the film were establishing the relationship between Lindsay. What's her name in this? Madison.
Oh, Madison.
Yeah, Madison.
Maddie.
Yeah. Maddie and Paul, and like, you know, her eyes are like beaming with affection in the sky. She's so overjoyed at like the view of him, and it's cutting back to him, and he's just like anxiously grimacing and like sipping his like whiskey really anxiously and like struggling to make eye contact and saying cheer, 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 cheer. You know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think. I wonder if they were trying to go for like the sort of the angsty Irish writer image that I think a lot of people have when they think of Irish literature. Like you think of like Samuel Beckett, although I wouldn't say Beckett was particularly conventionally handsome. I'm sure he was quite charming in a kind of like self-deprecating kind of way. I guess I'm sure he was very charismatic and interesting to spend time with, but just like that kind of
that kind of thing.
Brooding,
like,
sort of like
idealized kind of like James Joyce kind of stuff. Funny, come to think of it, it's unintentionally pretty accurate to W.B. Yeats, right? Like, you know, there's like weird.
The biggest fucking dweeb
yes.
in the canon of Irish literature.
It's like early
W.B. Yeats.
modern incel writing screeds. Yeah.
And I think.
Yeah.
Interesting you bring up Yeats. I feel like Yeats he was the biggest sort of. Like he's very popular like in academic circles.
Yeah.
And that is probably what informs a lot of like Americans' ideas of Ireland is like this kind of Yeatsy sort of, because his poetry is kind of like that a little bit, where it's like it's not, you know, like it's very good, but it is very much like
very romantic and fantastical.
Yeah, like kind of romanticizing the landscape and not really doing anything else with that.
Yeah.
You know, I think was it Yeats? I think was it Yeats who would tell people like if you want to be an Irish writer, you have to go to the Aran Islands.
That sounds like him. Yeah.
And like sort of be in that isolation, and it's just like I don't know about that.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Yeah.
Joyce was like, "Fuck that shit! I'm away shagging ones." You know.
Yeah, no. Joyce and Beckett, they were just like they were hopping the capitals of Europe. They were like, I think
very continental.
They actually met each other in Zurich.
Sounds right.
I think, and Beckett edited a little bit of Joyce's work, so who knows? James Joyce might have stole it from Samuel Beckett because Samuel Beckett was in love with Joyce.
I know, like Joyce and Hemingway used to go drinking all the time and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they were like. I think that's another thing about this Paul Kennedy character as well. Yeah. He's kind of supposed to be this charming, debonair, kind of bad boy type.
Yeah.
But we get to his home.
Yeah.
And it's like walking onto the set of Downton Abbey. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's a choice.
That's it, right? Like we see him in his natural element, and he's there in the wanker hat and everything, and like like you know, right? It's like I don't think it is a fedora, but it has such fedora energy, right?
Yeah.
Like
we were meant to find out the name of that hat, but if anyone's listening to this, it's the hat that he's wearing when he's in the airport, and it's just like that man looks like an absolute. I don't know, cunt is too strong a word, but just like, you just knew if you had a conversation with him, you would be exhausted.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like, this does not look like a charming man who Lindsay Lohan absolutely must, pursue,
This could have been a really good movie. Like, you could have taken this premise and done something, kind of interesting with it. Like, the sort of, that kind of, it's like that Freaky Friday thing where something weird and supernatural happens and, you're completely switched and you're in a different world and, a lot of comedy comes from that. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot about this that, just doesn't work because it doesn't sort of lean into those ideas in a way that is kind of serious enough while also being a comedy. I think the best comedies are the ones that sort of take their premise seriously. I do really love Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
And I do really love Mean Girls. Because I actually watched Mean Girls this weekend.
Classic.
That's another thing as well. Lindsay Lohan, I think, is one of the
great actor.
Yeah, really she is one of the saving graces of this film.
100%. She is carrying this entire film on her two shoulders by herself.
I think she is a sort of. I think she's a great movie star,
Mm,
and
absolutely.
that's something that very easily could have been lost with another actor.
Yeah.
Like, I think if another actor had played this, it would have just been very boring.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like actually offensive now.
The studio really owe this film like to Lindsay, and the casting does feel kind of very much informed by that. Where like there isn't really anyone else in the cast who's particularly notable apart from Lindsay. You know, name value, of course not, but you know, even on her level acting wise, you know, there are plenty of them who are grand, but like she really like stands alone and like is carrying the story of this film.
I think it's her and the English photographer.
They have a great like
They
a good dynamic.
yeah, you could sort of see them being like the leads of a different
Yes.
film where it's like you know, there's a competent script behind
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely. That is deserving of Lindsay Lohan star power.
Yeah.
and that's a big takeaway, is that like Lindsay Lohan deserves better than this film.
She
The thing-
does.
This film was lucky to have her. Netflix were lucky that she agreed.
I think
You know.
I do think that Lindsay Lohan has kind of gotten a shit deal out of Hollywood.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
because she was a big
Seems
child
like it.
star.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in the 2000s, she had a bunch of movies like Freaky Friday and Mean Girls, and The Parent Trap was like sort of her when she was a child. Like
yeah.
that kind of put her
Yeah.
on the map.
Another iconic film.
Yeah, and like I do really like Lindsay Lohan,
Mm,
but
absolutely. Yeah,
I'm
and-
an actor.
yeah.
And I just find it kind of like very strange that like you have this film set in Ireland, and you know the acting scene in Ireland is very small to begin with, so I think it's just kind of insulting that you would have a film actually film it in Ireland, and like if anyone has more than 5 lines,
Mm,
they're played by a non-Irish actor,
yeah,
even
yeah.
except for maybe like the brother character.
Yeah.
I think he's actually
Yes,
Irish.
yes, he seems like the one. But 100%, like that's the thing with the actors playing Paul Kennedy. It would have been so easy for them to find an Irish actor to play this part, you know, at his like, you know, skill level, his like price level, like all of that. That would not have been that difficult to find.
It's very much a tourist advertisement for this kind of idea of what Ireland is. And we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording. I kind of feel like it's sort of holding on to this idea of Irish culture that really doesn't exist anymore. I really feel that Ireland has moved into a time in history, like many other countries in the world, I'm sure, where like, you know, we're not sort of insular anymore with our culture. We live in a world where we know everything that's going on in America, we know everything that's going on in the UK, we know everything that's going on in the Middle East with like Gaza, like that really influences the way we view the world, and so we don't really develop a culture independent of any other nation anymore. And I do think that like that sort of idea of Irish culture, that like the quiet man, as much as I had it, really like influenced, I could think like touristy ideas of like this kind of, you know, lush beautiful countryside, and you know it's so nice, it's like I'm walking into a James Joyce novel, even though James Joyce like hated all of that shit, and like a lot of Irish writers hated that shit because it's not real. Like it's not a real representation of like the Irish experience. Like there's very little in this film about like for example our history as a colonized nation, even though it's set on like this fucking English plantation.
Yeah.
It's just like
The house that they're in is this like like colonial mansion, like they're like
yeah, and I mean like obviously like so this is a romantic comedy, so obviously they were never ever really going to delve into that, obviously, but I think it's weird that like the idea of Irishness that is presented is this very kind of like pastoral, anti-modern sort of understanding of what Irish culture is. What does it mean to be an Irish person in the 21st century? It's still holding on to this thing that, as I said earlier, that I think really died with Father Ted. Father Ted took that idea and took the piss out of it with like this mix of cynicism and affection, but I do think that like with that show, that kind of image of Ireland came to a real end, because especially because like it was a show that really took the piss out of the church as well. Like I think that the church and its influence sort of really disappeared in the 90s, and the image of Ireland that is often presented in like media like Irish Wish or The Quiet Man kind of comes from that era that just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, I don't know if you had any.
I like the idea that the first draft of Irish Wish had like a gritty, realistic understanding of like Irish like modernism. It's like Win the Chicks the Barley or something, starring Lindsay Lohan, and then they had to like
no Lindsay...
that didn't test well with audiences.
No,
and they had to like
like set it in like the Roaring Twenties, and like Lindsay Lohan is like an American socialite, and she comes to Ireland to a British plantation, and she's just sort of like, oh, you're kind of shitty to these people, aren't you? And they were just like, yes.
Oh yeah, sure. Like that's like you could tell like any number of really good stories, but like this thing with this, it's like they just wanted to make a buck. Like that's they didn't really like think anywhere like beyond that. And like I think like there like it the imagery of Ireland and like all the aspects of Ireland here are, you know, the big tourist destinations and stuff. I think like by design, like obviously you could see that as like lazy writing and all that stuff, and that's fair, but I think also that like, you know, the Irish American audience that they're selling this film to will know of like Cliffs of Moher. Maybe they've been there, maybe like their aunt has been there or something like that, so like, oh yeah, like that place. And like, you know, like it's because like this film is for an American audience rather than an Irish one, and so like these characters that we're following, none of them are Irish. They're American and English tourists that are like traveling through this land and, you know, meeting Irish people who are all these like menial labourers and like domestic servants and, you know, magical, mystical, fairy people who are like providing emotional support for all these English and American tourists. You know, like that's what we're getting, right? Like
yeah, that's what it was like. I tried rewatching The Quiet Man.
Yeah.
I had seen it many years before. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. It's 2.5 hours. I only watched the first 40 minutes, and then I was like, I don't care enough to keep going with this. But the depiction of Irish people in that has a very similar quality, where like John Wayne is this American man whose parents were immigrants from Ireland, and they were very successful, and he's set up and he's wealthy enough to buy the land that his parents came from. And when everyone finds out that like, oh, his family had come from this area, then they all just want to lick the tent off him. They love him. They think he's fucking the second coming. It's probably a very weird like combination of, you know, a time in relatively recent Irish history where going to America was the thing to do, because I was going to say we were a country, but I would say we still are a country that like economically have a lot of people who are struggling, and they do find that immigration is like the only real resort to make something of themselves. So I think we're
largest
still
rate of emigration in Europe. So there is still this like image out there of like Irish people, you know, an Irishman is some twinkly eyed fucker with a pig under one arm, hop stepping around the world. You know, it's like
and like that,
and like so like you get really like frustrated and like tired of like all this nonsense and like English people and Americans like making fun of it, but then that makes something kind of like cathartic to see it like done here, executed like really poorly and cynically, but in this like very pleasant way by like, and with Lindsay Lohan, who I have a lot of respect for. It's like it made for a very interesting experience, and like
I think it's because it's just so out of touch to the point where it's kind of pointless being legitimately offended by it, you know? It's it's that camp element as well. It's like it's
the camp is key.
It's kind of sincere in a lot of ways. Like Lindsay Lohan is very sincere in the film. So I think that's why she's probably the most compelling thing about it. But there's so much about it that like, yeah, they tried, it just doesn't work, but they tried, and that I think is that's very much key to what makes great camp art. It's like failed sincerity. And I think with Irish Wish, it doesn't work just because as a culture, Ireland has really moved on from that time where we saw America as this great kind of like paradise where you know it's like in The Simpsons, it's like, you know, we're going to go to America and maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday and for the rest of our lives. And
they're like playing on the Statue of Liberty.
Playing on the Statue of Liberty and shit. And
absolutely, and like Ireland doesn't see America that way anymore, but America very much wants to be reliving those glory days and still wants, you know, still sees itself to a large extent, and the rest of the world as like idolizing it in that way. And so like that feels like it is part of like the conflict of like the idea and the execution of this film.
Yeah, and and like the nature of like the international politics between Ireland and the I was going to say the UK, Ireland, Freudian slip, Ireland and the United States, because like whenever Irish politicians go over to America, it's so
bringing bowls of shamrocks and
it's
shit.
Fucking like, cringy. It's fucking embarrassing.
Oh, we hate that shit.
I hate it. Because I
might as well put on my big green hat and fucking buckle shoes. Like, what do you at?
Yeah, like for example, I don't know. This might be getting a little too real, but for example, Sinn Féin, who I would support out of like the main parties we have in this country, are very like anti-Zionism and very pro, you know, let's stop the Palestinian genocide, and yet they loved talking about Joe Biden as like the Irish American dream that was like successful, even though Joe Biden is a huge Zionist. So it's just like, it's that weird, I don't know, that could be getting in some very like real territory there. But just as an example of like the way a lot of Irish politics still venerates America, and so they want to sort of perpetuate some ideas about what Ireland is like. Like, this whole film could have been like a fucking Paddy Waggins advert. Like,
it pretty much is, from my perspective, like, yeah.
What was that review you found on IMDb where it was like, so yeah, they get off at Knock Airport, drive up to Mayo, and then just for an afternoon they go to the Cliffs of Moher?
Yes.
Do you have it there?
You don't fly to Knock Airport, go to an estate in Wicklow, walk through the town of Westport, drive through Wicklow with Sugarloaf Mountain in the background, and all of a sudden end up at the Cliffs of Moher. Yeah, it's like, yeah. It's like,
why didn't they go up to the Titanic Museum in Belfast?
Yeah,
like, that's a big deal. I mean, people have seen Titanic, the James Cameron, like, it's in Belfast, go see it. So we've talked a little bit about, like, what this film is in terms of its relationship to, like, Irish culture. But I want to talk a little bit about, like, just the film itself as, like, a piece of storytelling. We talked a little bit about how the actor who plays Paul Kennedy, like, no offense to him, but I do think he's very much miscast because he just doesn't have that kind of believable charisma where anyone would be like, yeah, I'll write all of your books and you don't have to give me any credit at all.
No. He is not the right fit, like, for the script, like,
Yeah, one way they could have done it is like cast someone who's like charismatic enough where you would kind of believe that, yeah, anyone could be influenced by him. Or have it be so that Lindsay Lohan is kind of like, yeah, I know he's a dick, but he is my boss and I want to get a foot in like the literary world, so this is kind of what I have to do to, you know. There's one element of this film that I find really bizarre, and that is Lindsay Lohan's mom in the film. So she is played by Jane Seymour, who, after Lindsay Lohan, would be the biggest name. She wouldn't be anywhere near, I wouldn't say she is as famous as Lindsay Lohan at all, but she's like the second most expensive one that they have. So her entire arc in this film, she doesn't interact with any of the other main characters at all, and that was one thing I found really odd about this film. The wish is granted by Saint Bridget, who like appears to Maddie and like grants the wish, and it's kind of like a be careful what you wish for thing. And so that kind of so her mom is a principal of a high school, and before the wish is granted, she's just like, oh, you know, I hope you have a good time in Ireland and enjoy the wedding, and you know, you really should stand up with yourself for yourself with Paul and tell him that he's a dweeb who's not worth your time. And then when the wish is granted, it like switches her reality as well. So she's like, oh shit, I have to get to the airport and go to Ireland because I have to go to my daughter's wedding. Why is she only flying out the day before?
Yeah.
And also, why does Saint Bridget come in to like purposely injure the mom so she can't make it? That doesn't make any sense because it's like, what does that have to do with the wish?
That's a hell of a choice. Saint Bridget like breaks Lindsay Lohan's mom's leg.
Yeah.
Just hospitalizing her like elderly mother, and she does it with like a I'm such a scam kind
She's
of
like,
thing.
oh, I'm a fucking devil.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking rascal.
This family tragedy. Like,
Yeah.
You know, now they have to like pay the medical bills and stuff. No,
Oh, yeah.
Like I was thinking like that seemed like Saint Bridget is the leprechaun who tells Ralph Wiggum to burn things. You know.
Yeah.
Now you know what to do, Lindsay. Burn the house down.
Do you know, I was thinking, because like I've been thinking about this film since we watched it last. I was like, I would actually love to see a comedy horror film where you have like a Saint Bridget or like a Mary Poppins type who comes in and is like, yes, I'll do everything for you. I'll grant your wishes, and then it just goes horribly wrong because she's a sadistic prankster who lives purely for the chaos. Yeah. Saint Bridget was a very interesting addition to this film.
Yeah. That's another thing, right? Where it's really bizarre, right? Where it's like that is an element of Irish culture. Saint Bridget, big deal historically, like all of that. But it's another one of those cases where it's like, it's not entirely wrong, so you can't dismiss it out. But it's like it's really off that she's doing all this like leprechaun shit, and it's like the whole thing is just like, it's really bewildering. But like it's done with a lot of fun. I really like the actor who like plays her. She's got a lot of sass. You know, she's got a lot of like performance. There's some nice visuals, so it's like, it's really baffling. But I am left entertained.
She has a lot of that like snarky Irish mom energy.
Yeah, I see that.
And I kind of wish there was more of that, because that could have been more interesting, like having this weird kind of almost like Doctor Who character, this weirdo who comes into your life and fucks everything up, but ultimately it's a good thing because you learn some values about it, you know, about this fuck up and like why if you instantly were marrying Paul Kennedy it wouldn't work.
Absolutely.
I mean, I personally wouldn't have needed a wish to know that I wouldn't have wanted to marry Paul Kennedy, but
that's the thing, right? Like as we're introduced to him, he's this like weird shitty guy doing weird shitty things, and then like at the climax of the film, when Lindsay Lohan realizes she doesn't want to marry him, she's like, oh no, he's a weird shitty guy doing weird shitty things, and it's like, yeah, that was clear like 5 minutes in. Like,
it's just like
there was no like tension that, you know, it's like Pam in The Office, the same picture kind of thing. It's like, yeah. You know, and I was thinking about how like the mechanism of the wish being like how this love triangle unfolds really like undermines like the characters in the story, because it means that like no one has any agency apart from Lindsay Lohan to a certain degree, and so like it really undermines how much they can like grow personally and like develop it. It like it's a funny.
Yeah, I think if this were a good film that took this premise and like took it seriously, then it would sort of, it wouldn't constantly remind you that a wish happened. It's like, no, we know. You don't have to sort of say, oh, you don't remember. It's because of my wish. It's just like, we know. You don't have to say it again. We know. We get it.
They do explore that at length. And it makes no sense in universe because Lindsay Lohan is spending like 5 minutes being like, but who am I? But like, what's in that picture? And like, who's all this? And like, if your friend was doing this, you'd think they're having a stroke or something.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
you
like,
would be really concerned.
I was just like, have you talked to Maddie? There's something really off with her.
She doesn't remember the last 6 months.
She doesn't remember that she's getting married. This is a little scary. You know. What was really interesting about watching this film as a quote unquote love triangle is that so she bumps into this English guy, and he's like relatively charming compared to like the salami that her friend is marrying. And like they hit it off and they are very cute. They have a nice chemistry together. Like there is a couple of weird things about him as well as a
Yeah.
character. So he, unlike the aristocracy that Paul Kennedy comes from, he's like a sort of, he's a traveling photographer, and he doesn't really have a set home, and he's like friends with all of the local Irish people.
He knows every pub owner. in
Yeah, he
Ireland,
knows
it
every
seems.
pub,
Yeah.
every owner, like in the country, because like they travel and then they get stranded. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I know this random pub like on the way to the cliffs of Moher when we get stranded.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find it a very interesting choice that like. Again, it kind of goes into what we were already saying about how like the vast majority of this cast are not Irish people.
Mm.
Like it's about Ireland, but not really about Ireland. Like a sort of idea of Ireland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. The Irish wish ultimately is Lindsay Lohan leaving her like horrible Irish boss slash lover, and going off with a nice Englishman.
Yeah.
It leaves a weird taste. That is not the Irish wish or
Yeah.
experience. Really, that makes sense as an American tourist hoping to meet like an
Yeah, I
attractive
mean, like
Englishman.
as,
Sure.
as,
yeah.
as an American tourist, you do want to hook up with an English person because as colonizers, you would have something in common. But I just think it's a very bizarre. Yeah,
It is. It leaves a weird taste. Like,
Yeah, and then there's also this weird. So there's another angle to this, which I think kind of leans into the camp element of it because I'm not heterosexual, so I do love watching like heterosexual media. I find a lot of this film just like very cringy for that reason because it's just kind of like this forced heterosexuality will lead you to happiness sort of thing.
yeah.
Like you see that with the photographer character. When he goes into the first pub, what's it called, Scrubby McMurphy's or
That
something.
sounds about right. Yeah.
Scrawny McMahon's
Some
or
shit
something.
like that. Yeah.
And like the bartender is like waxing lyrical, like as all Irish bartenders do.
Yeah.
Like you have to complete an English degree to get a job in an Irish bar.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah.
like, you
all
need
of these
to-
poetic flourishes,
Yeah.
that are just in conversation, and like the camera work is like going crazy, and like the beauty of this pub and stuff. But like, like it's a pub, like it's full of drunk people like starting fights. The bathrooms have like piss all over them. It's like
It's like
calm down.
it's like there's someone throwing glass at you. Like
some
that's what-
17-year-old.
Yeah, some 17-year-old
breaking bottles.
like jumping the fence, throwing glass, and just being like, "What?"
yeah.
But yeah, no, the bartender is like waxing lyrical, and he's just like, "Oh God, you're always traveling for your work. You won't be happy until you find a nice girl."
Yeah,
And it's just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this man is getting paid to travel the world and photograph shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing fine.
yeah.
like,
yeah.
You know what?
The man working in a pub in fucking rural Ireland is like, God, what a hard life
What a
being a photographer must be.
You're not
like-
married. Who makes your breakfast?
Yeah.
Do you
that can have been-
Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. It's maybe not even just like a heterosexual thing. I do think like in gay culture there is this sort of element of like pushing for a relationship, especially in like rural Ireland as well actually. Like whenever I go home, sometimes my mom, who's like totally chill with me being gay and everything, like it was never an issue for her, but she's like, "Have you met anyone?" And I don't know, I guess I don't really want to have the conversation with her where it's like, I don't know if I want to meet someone. I don't know if that's something I want in my life. I'm just bringing this up because it's just like, I don't know, it's a perspective that I find really weird in a lot of like media that I watch, and it's particularly why I don't watch a lot of like romantic comedies.
This one is oppressively heteronormative.
Yeah,
it's
like, don't get me wrong, like I've seen rom-coms that are really good and like I enjoy them for what they are, but I don't know, it's just something that doesn't speak to me personally, so I think there is like that bit of a barrier there. So I don't know, I think that does kind of lean into the sort of campness as well. It's like this sort of forced monogamy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why are they getting married at all? Neither of them seem to care. No one cares.
No one cares.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's just what they do because of the gender.
Whatever, do whatever the hell you want, but I just like, I don't know, like, that idea that like you won't be happy until you meet like the love of your life is something that is just so saturated in Western culture. I can only speak to Western culture because that's what I have grown up in, but it's just something that I'm like, oh my god, come on! Like we've done this before, and you know what?
Every idea in this has been done before. It's been done better. It's every trope, like rolled into one. That's the thing. It's like there really are really no like original ideas here to speak of, and that is at like the fundamental tension of this. Like for me, that like creatively the writing, the artistry in it is like nil, but it's like given to this like professional competent team. You've Lindsay Lohan's acting, the directing, the editing, the cinematographer all doing a great job, and it's like, okay, polish this turd.
Yeah,
we gotta sell this, like this was the cheapest script we could find for whatever reason, like sell it. And damn, they did.
I would be really curious because we did look up the lady who wrote this movie.
Yes.
And we saw some of her credits. On IMDb.
Yeah.
She seems to love Christmas.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like a Grinch. I don't really care. I don't mind Christmas. It's fine. I just don't, lose my shit over it.
Yeah. And I doubt, if Irish Wishes is anything to go by, I doubt that she had any real like opinions about Christmas in that thing either. It's just it'll sell. Yeah.
What I found really interesting is that when we were looking this up, apparently it was originally going to be set in Italy.
Yes.
And
which adds a beautiful layer of cynicism to the thing. It's like it being Ireland is completely incidental. Like all of the like really harping on it being Irish. All of the like pandering. Madison's friend says like 3 times like, oh, he's Irish. Like, oh, has he got a sexy accent? There's like 3 times they talk about like Irish. Oh, that's so attractive. So pandering, so cynical. Yeah, it was going to be in Italy, and like I'm sure there's like a variety of reasons for the change, but I'm sure like the tax system in Ireland being what it is, I'm sure it could not have hurt.
I'm sure. That would be an interesting thing to look into. Like, what parts of the world are more expensive? Because Ireland, we do get a lot of international film companies coming here. Obviously, Game of Thrones was filmed here. We got a lot of TV shows that are filmed in Ireland because we have like a lot of untouched rural countryside, so that's great for like historical dramas, and like fantasy tends to be sort of set in like a pre-modern era, which I think I don't know, maybe that continues to feed into this idea that we are like a pre-modern culture, which we're not. We have Twitter, or X, or whatever the fuck it's called now.
Thank God.
Yeah, we're just as miserable as the rest of you, like scrolling on our phones. Don't worry, like we're in this shit together.
Yeah, and like Game of Thrones, great Irish actors in that, right? Like great.
Oh yeah, actors, that was like Game of Thrones was like really good for like a lot of like the acting community in Ireland, because it showcased like a lot of really great talent. Like you could have cast a couple of Irish actors from Game of Thrones as Paul Kennedy, and they would have done a better job.
Oh god, yeah.
Or even like just someone who could do the fucking accent.
Yeah.
Because like I've
just cast an Irish guy who like would have cost the same amount, and like big improvement.
Big improvement, and also, I don't know, like Ireland, the Irish accent is sort of notoriously a difficult one for actors to do. Like, I mean, there's an endless list of films you can watch where it's just like an American playing an Irish person, and it's just fucking like, what are you?
Because like it's very specific. Like there isn't really an Irish accent. There's like a whole bunch of different ones. There's a lot of like regional variations, and so if you try and do like a pan-Irish accent, you end up sounding like the Lucky Charms leprechaun. It doesn't. Steve Coogan has a great bit expressing a similar thing. I think he's on like the Late Late Show in Ireland, where he's asked whoever is asking him like, "Oh, you do an Irish accent?" He's like, "No, I do a Mayo accent," and he does an excellent Mayo accent.
Good
and
answer.
That's the way to do it. Like like pick one and like get good at it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I remember recently I watched The Magdalene Sisters again. Very different movie, but very, very good. Obviously a much heavier film. And I was actually really surprised after I had watched it, I went through the cast list, and I was surprised how many of those actors actually weren't Irish,
Yeah.
because they could do the accents,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
could do it convincingly. That to me, I was like, yeah, they could be from here.
Yeah,
And I imagine, like, with English actors, it is a thing that, like, if their family comes from Ireland, they've probably grown up hearing it.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
they can do it.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know where this Welsh guy came from. Cardiff, I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah, that's a big ask. You know, it would be difficult for an Irish actor to do a Welsh accent in a film convincingly. You know, it's like that's
Yeah.
a big thing that like.
and I also love how in the film, like, Paul Kennedy's parents, they just didn't even try. They were just like, no, these two are fucking British.
Yeah,
And, like,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not, like, they're just like, no, we fucking took over this.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. They're like blue blooded, like
yeah.
in their big mansion. Yeah, that's and I love because there's like a line I think where Paul, after the English guy takes Madison to like the Cliffs of Moher, and Paul's like, oh, there's like tourist traps, you know, like that kind of thing, and like, you know, and that being kind of funny, it's like they're like lampshading kind of like their own.
Intentions.
Yeah, you know, because it is just like a big tourism ad basically. But like the implication that like I wanna like be here with us, like with the real Ireland in our like big like Victorian mansion, you know, like
Yeah.
like, it's again weird implications. I'm sure all of it was unintentional, but yeah.
But it's like that
Like-
line that we were talking about earlier. It's like Paul Kennedy is the best-selling author in the UK.
Yes,
And it's just
yeah, yeah.
like,
And it's like, do they know that Ireland's not in the UK? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if they do.
Like I couldn't have faith that they do, right?
Yeah.
But it's
It's like
that's the thing, right? Where it's all of it is on this edge of like.
it's like saying Justin
off.
Trudeau is my favorite American politician. You know.
But it's
He's
like
not. He's not. Like.
But it's like Paul could be the best selling in the UK, and like Ireland, and it's where it's always just like that bit of where you're like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
it makes the whole thing weird and disorientating. It's like I can't throw it out completely, but it's not quite right.
I don't remember who it was, but there was an American musician, and I saw a clip of him on the YouTube. And he was performing at a concert in Ireland, and he said, "Oh, I love Ireland. It's my favorite part of the UK." And then he gets a huge boo from the audience,
Oof,
and it's
yeah.
just like, I don't know. Maybe they don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't.
Very, very possibly.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like the sort of Irish American idea of Ireland as the old country really sort of neglects the sort of the difficulties of Irish history, and like the sort of the kind of, well, the violence of Irish history, and the nastiness of like sort of finding our feet as a post-colonial society, and like, you know, dealing with like sectarian issues, and like, because like in the 1970s and stuff, you would see like Irish politicians going on American television and talk shows and talking about it. So it was something that people were attuned to, but I guess they just don't want to think about it anymore, and just want to think that like every green field was written about in James Joyce's Ulysses or something. I also love that line when they go to the Cliffs of Moher, and she's like, it's like a James Joyce novel. It's just like, what the fuck? Have you ever read Joyce?
Yeah, right. The Joyce line, "This lovely land that always sent her writers and artists to banishment." Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so many of like our most celebrated writers were very vocal about how shit it is. Like, it's very beautiful. The countryside's beautiful, but like, living as an individual in a beautiful countryside does not make for a beautiful life. Like, you still have to survive as a subject in whether it's a pre-colonial society, colonial, post-colonial, capitalist society. It's just like life sucks, you know? Like, and I think that it's sort of like what I was saying earlier about The Quiet Man. Like, I really hate that movie because it like sort of leans into that, oh jeez, this isn't beautiful, but we don't want to talk about like our struggles. And like the basic premise of that film is that John Wayne, his parents came from rural Ireland, they went to America, he made a lot of money, and he comes back, and you hear this narrator of John Wayne's mom's character, and she's like, oh, the mountains and the rivers, and it was very nice, and it was all winding through in the beautiful lush green, and you're just sort of like, so why'd you leave?
Yeah.
Like, why did you go if it was so fucking perfect? A recent Irish film I really liked was That They May Face the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, and everything looks really nice, but you have these moments where these characters sort of ask, do you ever just wonder what's it all about? Like, what's my purpose in this world? And people, and that's it's set in the 1980s, sort of at that sort of crossing point between that old Ireland and modern Ireland. And it's a really good movie. It's a very I find it like a very thoughtful film, and a very interesting one, I think, for me to watch, because I think we're the products of that weird switch that happened culturally. We kind of grew up at the very tail end of that kind of Catholic hegemonic Irish society, and we're sort of the first generation of this modern capitalist globalized international social media society, and
absolutely.
that kind of the chasm between those two worlds, and how quickly we really have changed in such a short amount of time.
Very quickly.
But yeah.
And on that, the of good some very touching depictions of rural Irish desolation. A Cripple of Inishmaan, if you want to that is the realest insight into rural Irish life, I think.
That is sort of what put Martin McDonagh on the map. As a writer, he kind of took that old image of Ireland and really fucked with it. He was just it's his, I think his first play was The Beauty Queen of Leenane, and it's set in this old Irish cottage, and it's about a mother and daughter, and the mother is a disabled, she's not disabled, but she's very old and she can't take care of herself, and she's sort of at the hands of her daughter, who physically tortures her.
Right.
It's it really fucks with that idea of that peaceful, idyllic, quiet life, sort of Ireland. He really kind of said, no, we're done with that. I think it was Father Ted and Martin McDonagh that really put the nail on that old sense of Irishness for the Irish audience.
And all of Paul's writing in Irish Wish is just oh, isn't it beautiful, lyrical, wonderful countrysides and stuff, the quote that comes up, there's a quote from his book where it says, he disappears into the shadows of a mossy glen, all of this just lyrical, it sounds like a fan fiction, it's just very silly, I don't know.
I found, I was just, listening to him read, there's the bit, so the first 5 minutes is set in New York, and they're at a launch of his book, and he's reading a little bit of it, and I was just if you went to any creative writing class at any level, even in a community center, you would find someone who could write something more compelling than that.
Absolutely.
You could find teenagers who could write more compelling shit than that.
And that makes it a very interesting test of the writer of the film and what they put in. And it just...
And I recently finished In the Forest by Edna O'Brien.
Oh yeah.
And that is a very interesting book, because it's based on a real triple homicide that happened in Ireland in the 1990s. And the book was very controversial because a lot of people felt that it was kind of sensationalizing this real event that happened. I don't know if I can actually disagree with those criticisms. I think it is, because the book is told in these episodic vignettes almost, and it does use that kind of Irish lyricism, but to go into a portrayal of a very ugly situation, a very so the man who committed those murders, he spent time like in juvenile centers, and it's like a very frank depiction of like what those situations were like in Ireland. You know, like all of the abuses that would have been happening in those situations. So I think just as that example, she does use that lyricism, but she uses it to sort of almost intensify and sharpen this other side of the story that she's telling. I don't know if I can disagree with the controversies of that book, but I will say that I cried at the end of it. It was a very compelling read. I was actually like quite taken by it. Yeah, it's like that kind of Irish lyricism. Use it as a device to do something. Don't have that be the whole. Don't have that be. Don't give me a sandwich with just butter. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I think just as we sort of come down to the final thoughts that we have about Irish Wish, as much as we've been ripping into it, I do love it.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's.
want to make that clear. Yeah,
It's
a lot
very
of fun.
it's very entertaining. I find it so much more entertaining than a lot of quote unquote good films.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I fucking hated Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was good at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can accept that I would be very much a minority in that opinion.
I absolutely, like, if you have a taste for like films that are so bad that they're good, this is so worth like checking out. It seems in the vein of like A Christmas Prince, you know, those kinds of like classics and stuff.
I've not seen that one.
Neither have I. That's on my list. I gotta.
But like,
check.
you know, like The Room, I think it's
Yeah,
like right
yeah.
up there with The Room. Like it just it has something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that campness, that kind of failed sincerity,
Yeah.
which makes it really entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this film. I watched this film more than like, I don't know, The Godfather.
Yeah.
I think I've only seen The Godfather once, and like as good as it is, it's just like, you know, or Requiem for a Dream. You know, like like that's a good movie, but it's like, oh god, I don't know if I could put myself through that again. But Irish
Absolutely.
Wish.
This one, like, we're like, hell yeah, let's watch it again.
I was just like, it's like one of the only movies that I think my mom and I could actually watch together, and we would both, we would both be entertained by it.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, I think as we're coming to the end of this, we'll just sort of say briefly. So we've set up the basic premise. She wishes to be marrying Paul Kennedy, but she finds that she likes this other guy more because he's actually charming. And she also finds that Paul Kennedy... Well, actually, yeah, I think we already said this. Like, Paul Kennedy, like, there's that moment where they're kind of like, asking like, oh, how did you meet? How did you propose? This, that, and the other. It's like, who? And they play the Newlywed Game, and they're like, who's Maddie's favorite author? And it's like, James Joyce. Oh, her favorite author is Charles Dickens, and it's like, it's that moment where you're just like, okay, so this is the film saying no, they're not right for each other. That's why they're not getting married. Which
that whole scene is so fucking weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's filled with so much like uncomfortable laughter and just like weird tension. It's straight out of Peep Show. It's like, it's incredible. Like,
yeah, that's the like Peep Show is like self-aware camp. It's just like it gets how awkward this is, and you are supposed to feel awkward with it. Peep Show's fucking genius. I love Peep Show.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, it's like, I feel like I should wrap up, you know, the story and stuff. But the thing is, like, it's kind of a nothing burger of a story in the end, because like it's like she wishes to be with Paul and then she wishes not to be with him. It's kind of it. It falls apart at the marriage. It's not really about the story, right? It's about like Lindsay Lohan and these like interactions, and I enjoyed it for that. You know, like Lindsay does a great job. She deserves better. That's
hashtag free Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Give her. Although there is that new.
So long as she got paid well, I don't care.
Yeah. I think that new Freaky Friday.
Oh yeah.
It looks promising. Like, I don't know. We'll see how that.
I saw an ad for the new Top Gun. It looked dire. I don't know. It's fucking
Tom Cruise. Yeah.
It's
is that the one that came out a few years ago?
No.
Or is there a new one?
This is a new one starring Liam Neeson. is
the Naked Gun.
Naked Gun.
Yeah.
Pardon. Yes.
You know, I was talking to
maybe it's okay. The ad looked rough, but yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to our mutual friend Christopher about this. We were talking about this over the weekend, and he made an interesting point where it's just like that kind of old style of comedy really just doesn't work anymore because we're too cynical.
Yeah.
We're kind of like in a postmodern era of media consumption. Like we have Rick and Morty, we have like Family Guy, we have social media. Like we've peeked behind the curtain. Like whereas like in the 80s, the reason all of that kind of slapsticky kind of vaudeville tongue-in-cheek stuff worked is because the only other media you could consume was like very sincere and very like took itself very seriously, and there wasn't really a lot of that kind of self-awareness on the part of the media that was being produced.
But I really don't know that Liam Neeson is the man to like carry that film. The actor who did it for Airplane, I forget his name.
Oh, Leslie Nielsen.
Right? Like he's a very particular like character. I don't know that Liam Neeson has like the comedy chops to pull it off. I don't know much of his background if he does, but tricky.
Nothing burger.
Closing thoughts of it, story and stuff.
Closing thoughts.
Just good time.
Yeah, good time. Like for all of its faults, I should really hate it more than I do, and yet I don't. And that in and of itself is very impressive. In a weird way, they did something that is even harder to do than making like a good film.
Absolutely. And like as we were saying earlier, like this is a really impressive acting performance from Lindsay Lohan, and that is kind of a bizarre thing because when you think of like great acting performances, you're usually thinking of like I don't know, like Arthur Miller plays and stuff with like these great characters, great like screenwriting,
Sophie's
great
Choice,
actors,
like these like really heart wrenching like soul bearing performances, which
where
are cool.
Where they have all this like depth and stuff to like work with and like other actors to like bounce off of. And this film is the polar opposite of that, where it's Lindsay Lohan with nothing else, nothing at all, like nothing to work with, and like I was really impressed with what she came up with. Like,
I mean, I'll say I found her a lot more entertaining than Jared Leto in Morbius, or a lot of that Marvel shit. I find Marvel very, very boring. It doesn't appeal to me at all. I know a lot of people will think I'm a snob for saying that. And I willfully accept that. Just on a final idea, I think why this film really works for me is that I've really developed like a sense of camp. I think I was reading Susan Sontag's notes on camp, and she sort of talked about how, you can enjoy a work of art on a quote unquote serious level. But if you can only enjoy art on that serious level, you're kind of limiting yourself to a whole plethora of sensory experience. And this film was a really unique experience. And, I can't say it's a good film, but I can say it is a really good time. I can say that I love it. I kind of love it.
I can say I adored it. Absolutely. And my like closing thoughts on it is that I want to see a sequel. I want to see Irish Wish 2, where they're all wearing big green hats and buckled shoes, and Lindsay's mom is calling her and being like, what's the touchscreen phones? Am I right, kids? Like all of this. I want to see Gen Z focus grouped Irish Wish about a group of vaping, scooter riding leprechauns with fades that have to find St. Bridget's pot of gold and buy Fortnite skins.
Irish Wish 3, Lindsay joins the Ra.
I'm in. Keep them going.
Well, this was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun,
I've never... This is my first time doing any kind of, like, podcasty stuff.
Same.
I don't know, it was very chill. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it with you.
Yeah.
Your name is...
Well, I might just say Joe. Yeah.
Your name is Joe. I'll edit out your real name.
Yeah.
And my name is Shan, which I imagine anyone who's finding this is probably going to be going on my YouTube channel. As I said before, I'm a bitter actor who never gets any work, so I'm resorting to making content in the meantime. So I just make video essays like about things that interest me, mostly films, mostly horror films, because I do love horror stuff. But if I don't know if anyone is listening to this. It'd be very fun if we put this up and just like nothing.
I was thinking that the comments are just like full of like defenders of like Irish Wish and like how dare you.
Yeah,
You know, like,
or just like, you know, these fucking people don't know what they're talking about. Which honestly, if you want to do that, that is like more traction for the algorithm.
That'd be a
So
good thing,
I
yeah.
don't care
Yeah.
if you want to call me an asshole or an idiot. That is, it's. I mean, it's still the same to me. No such thing as bad publicity.